which is actually a pretty sneaky tactic if you ask me. Welcome back to my channel, guys. For those of you who are new, I'm the Marketing Nomad, and I usually talk about content marketing, social media, marketing, and brand management. I usually upload YouTube videos every Tuesdays and Fridays. However, I do have marketing tips for you on my Instagram every single weekday. Today, we're going to be talking about brand consistency on social media. Now, if you've checked out either my Instagram page or even my YouTube videos, you absolutely know that I'm super serious when it comes to brand consistency. So I thought today I'll sit down and talk to you guys about how to maintain your brand consistency on social media. I have 8 tips for you. Let's go over it express style. Now, the first point that I do have for you is visual consistency. Now, did you know that consumers actually need to take a look at your brand 7 to 10 times before they decide to make a purchase? Now, what this actually tells us is that if your consumer does not recognize your brand 7 to 10 times, the likelihood of them purchasing your product actually decreases. So what does this tell us? So this tells us that if you are posting on social media, make sure that your branding is absolutely on point, which means whether you are posting as your Instagram stories or you are just posting as normal posts, make sure that your branding is absolutely clear. Even if you are uploading pictures, make sure that you either put your logo at the corner of your image just so that you can re-emphasize on the fact that that post is yours and your consumer can take a look at your brand once more. The next one I do want to talk about is emotional consistency. Now, emotional consistency means that you are evoking the same emotions in your consumers regardless of the platform that you are on. Now, one of the ways to actually maintain emotional consistency over different social media platforms is to actually have a running Google Doc of everything that is related to your brand, whether it is responses to client questions on social media or it is something to do with your description on your social media posts. Make sure that your key messaging is absolutely clear and you are not confusing your consumers regardless of the platform that they see you. When you get to writing this document, you also have to be clear about the tone that you are going to use. Is your tone going to be personal? Is your tone going to be humble? Is your tone going to be direct? These are things that you really need to figure out before you get started on this document. And having a consistent tone over your platforms actually maximizes your consumer's connection to your brand, which is ultimately what we want. Coming on to my next tip. Try to focus on 2 to 3 different platforms, and that's it. I know that there are a lot of businesses out there who are trying to spread themselves too thin by kind of focusing on 8 different social media platforms. Now, when you spread yourself that thin, it actually gets very difficult to maintain brand consistency over all these different platforms. So choose 2 or 3 different platforms that your consumers usually hang out and stick to those. The next one is, what is your purpose? Now, defining what kind of content you are going to be putting out on these social media platforms is actually essential. Are you going to be the kind of business that puts out responsive content? Or are you going to be the one that's going to be super funny? Are you going to be the one that's constantly offering promotions on your social media page? Or are you going to be the one that shares interesting facts or visuals? Now, understanding your purpose is absolutely key. Your consumers are going to be attracted to your brand for that particular reason. Either they're looking for responsive content, or they're looking for interesting visuals, or they're even looking for something that's humorous to kind of pep up their day. My advice would be to stick to 2 or 3 different kinds of posts and put them in rotation so that your consumers know what to expect from your brand, from your social media pages. Now, coming to my next point, I know that there are a lot of templates that are available online, and here's my problem with these templates. When your consumers take a look at these templates, they're actually going to know that you are not putting in the effort to grab their attention. Also, because they are super generic, your consumers are not going to remember you as the brand that caught their attention. So I would highly recommend designing your own social media posts instead of using templates. Now, coming on to my next tip, subtle branding. Now, even if you are posting on your Instagram stories, make sure that you are putting your logo in, or you are just putting in some sort of subtle branding in there. Now, if you guys take a look at my Instagram stories, it's always these 3 colors that I do use: teal, yellow, or black. And here's the reason why. When people are looking through stories or they're even checking out their newsfeed on their social media pages, they're usually scrolling down really fast. Even if you do put a bit of subtle branding there, their eye kind of catches these colors and it kind of registers in their subconscious mind that you are the brand that they are looking for. Even if they don't stop to read your posts or whatever content that you are putting out, you are actually going to be on their mind, which is actually a pretty sneaky tactic if you ask me. Now, my next tip is don't ignore your bio. Now, one of the first things that people notice when they are on your social media profile is your bio. If it does not explain what your business is about or what your brand is about, people are not going to be that inclined to check out more. So all you have to do in your bio is define your purpose, which sort of loops me back to my fourth point where I asked you to define your purpose. So if you are going to be putting humorous content, make sure that your bio is a little humorous so that you can grab their attention right off the bat. Now, my last point is to define your language and to define your personality. Now, I know that we discussed about defining your tone, but defining your language is equally important. Are you going to be using complex language? Are you going to be using only industry jargon? Are you going to be using simple yet inspiring language? So these are things that you really have to keep in mind and maintain that consistently over all your platforms. Now, when it comes to your personality, are you going to be a warm and friendly brand? Are you going to be a serious brand? Are you going to be an authoritative brand? Are you going to be an inspiring brand? So these are things that you really have to keep in mind, especially when you are maintaining brand consistency over different platforms. And that brings me to the end of my video. I know that brand consistency on social media is a little challenging and many businesses actually struggle with this. But over time, with consistent and conscious effort, you can actually ace your branding game on your social media page. The main aim of branding on social media pages is to ensure that your consumers recognize you even though they're just scrolling really fast or they're just swiping really fast as well. So that is the end game of your branding on social media, and you can only do that with all of these tips that I did mention. So I wish you guys all the very best when it comes to branding on social media. Until my next video, guys.